I believe that you will do the best for you. And I believe that we have the power, have the power. I hate the state, and I know I'm a slave. We can make a break the power, break the power.
Hello, this is Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast, episode 27. I'm here tonight with Pat Rose.
Hello.
And Ethan Montgomery. Ethan's a newcomer.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Ethan. Thank you for
Do
coming.
you like my 1-900 voice?
Yes. Totally. So, yeah. What are we going to talk about this week, guys?
I don't know. Did you want to bring anything up?
Well, I've been sitting here vaping hash oil.
Yes.
Which apparently is a new thing to some people around here. And I'm here to tell you that it's the future.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done it before. The first time I tried it was a couple years ago at Porkfest.
Sounds quite interesting. Could you explain it to us?
Well, the hash oil is basically just refined weed. I think they usually use butane actually as the solvent, but they basically just suck all the good old THC juice out of it and make a sticky little resin out of it, which you can then vaporize. And conveniently enough, it's very easy to vaporize and stuff that you can use with like electronic cigarette batteries. So it basically operates and looks like and functions just like an electronic cigarette.
That's cool, man. Can you use a regular, I guess, electronic cigarette, or do you have to have a special one?
Well, the actual like heating element itself is specialized for hash oil and like gets to like the right temperature and everything.
That's cool.
But the battery I use to power it is the exact same kind of battery I use because I use electronic cigarette. Whoa there!
I think he's setting up for his hemorrhoid cushion. So.
Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of blazed, and I almost broke a beer. Somehow it hit the ground, and it did not explode.
Well,
but everyone's okay.
All right.
Well, Jesus saves. So anyway, but yeah. I use the same exact batteries as electronic cigarettes, which I do also use, for
That's cool.
nicotine. And it's wonderful. It's very convenient. It's discreet. It's efficient.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty awesome. I think I took like 2 or 3 hits, and
you're spilling shit everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
He's almost breaking bottles.
I'm totally fucking blazed.
Now the tricky part is you gotta have nowhere to find it, which isn't that easy. But it seems to be growing more and more. I think it's no mistake that it coincides with legalization. Places like Colorado and elsewhere, more liberalized laws have created actually something approaching a free market. Now it's still highly regulated and completely state controlled or whatever, but it's at least allowed to function in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You're seeing. Yeah. I think it's no coincidence that you're seeing products like this.
Sounds like it'd be pretty easy to like smuggle out of, like if you went to Colorado or something like that. If you just had a tube of the, I guess the regular vape juice, couldn't you just dump that out and replace it with that so it didn't look like you had anything?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I don't even know that it really has much to do with like the actual like people smuggling. And
I didn't mean smuggling. I mean like there's definitely a cannabis tourism now for states like Colorado. I mean, I've got a friend who's been out to Colorado twice now, just to go out there and smoke legal weed, and but trying to bring anything home could be very hard and potentially dangerous. Which was what I was saying. For people like that, it might be easier for them to get it.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But certainly, if nothing else, I mean, there's people, where I get it from isn't made in Colorado or anything like that,
oh, yeah.
Obviously. But you can see that it's clearly just creating a trend in the market where there's clearly a demand for these things, or, even in states where, in Maryland it's decriminalized, but it's not legalized. There's no legal avenues to purchase it. But just because people do things like go to Colorado, they see these things and like, wow, that's pretty sweet. And so they start demanding it where they are, and the black market prevails.
You mean the real market?
Well, exactly.
The free market.
Well, exactly, and that's what I should say.
I mean, you can say like it's kind of a free market, but I mean not really, because it's like you said, you did acknowledge it's heavily regulated, and it's funny too because from what I've heard in Colorado. The legal weed's so expensive that there still is plenty of a black market for it.
And as well there should be. That's good. That's
No,
great.
yeah, dude, I totally agree.
But yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think most people listening to this podcast who smoke weed get their weed from the black market, and you know, and ultimately, a lot of the times it means you just get it from one of your friends, and you know, they get it from where they get it from. But I don't know. I mean, I've always found it fairly easily to find a good product. You know, for most of the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and
There's always dry spells, but yeah.
yeah, but. Well, I mean, obviously, you know, the black market is, I guess, in some ways, it is the freest market of all. In some ways, at least compared to the, you know, the other avenues. But it certainly, you know, it creates different incentives. I mean, you know, you obviously couldn't have a legitimate storefront, you know, in a place like outside of Colorado. And when you have
Define
something
legitimate.
like that, there's more. Well,
It's got a pretty sign.
in the eyes of the state.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that you're seeing, you know, because for example, my understanding is the way that they make this stuff, like the hash oils, they're actually using usually like the trimmings and the leftovers of, you know, the good stuff. You know, they're still, you know, selling the flowers to be smoked, but like stems and all that other stuff.
So it's earth friendly.
Well, exactly. It's efficient. It's green friendly. It's earth friendly. It's environmental. But you know, if you think about it, I mean, that seems like the kind of thing that would benefit mostly from, you know, economies of scale. You know, if you're a large operation where you're processing a bunch of this stuff and you have enough clippings and stems left over to make it worth your while to go through this whole process to get the oil out, that's not something that every, you know, small time black market dealer can do. But I mean, honestly, they can do it because they're doing it now.
Yeah.
But you know, they weren't really in a position to explore that market before. I guess, I don't know. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the beauty of the free.
it's
That's
a
the
lot
beauty
of
of the free
it's,
market. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But-
Oh yeah, totally. Nobody knows, and it's also the reason why you don't want central planning. You know, and
Absolutely.
it's the reason government does so fucking shitty, as opposed to, you know, markets that are more private, markets that are more free.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all incredibly complex, you know, and the hubris for somebody to think they can totally figure out exactly how an entire market works or something. I mean, to do that, you know, like you said, to dictate from a central authority is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of makes me think of like if you ever listen to like Penn Jillette talk, and he'll talk about like why he's a libertarian, and he'll say, I'm a libertarian because I don't know. And like I agree with that, you know, because I don't know what's best for me half the time. So, and you know, I think as far as people go, I'm a pretty bright guy. And then so what makes me think that the president's going to know what's best for everybody? You know, why should any one human being have that power?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, it's the epitome of hubris to think that you could possibly have, you know, the kind of authority on any of these things, you know, in people's lives. And I think the worst part about it is that it ends up reducing what are very complex, intricate problems like people's personal relationships and all these other things. And it just reduces them to these simplistic, you know, headline-esque, you know, ideologies where, you know, they try to reduce complex social problems into, oh, well, this was clearly a problem with the Confederate flag. It's like, no, that's not going to solve anything by taking down the Confederate flag, and you're completely ignoring all the real issues that are going on here, for example.
Word.
Word.
So, Pat, didn't you say you were saying something about Day of the Dead?
Talking about Day of the Dead. Yeah,
Day of the Dead?
Last time I talked about Return of the Living Dead, which if you didn't hear and you're in the Baltimore area, the Senator is playing on the Thursday before Halloween. I think that's the 29th. It's one of the best zombie movies ever made, and maybe the best zombie movie ever made, Day of the Dead. It's playing at the AFI Silver on the Saturday before Halloween, which I think is the 24th. Once I saw that, I immediately got myself a ticket. Doubtful in my lifetime that will ever play in a movie theater anywhere near me again, so make sure you get there if you can.
So you like Day of the Dead better than Dawn or Night?
I kind of lean that way frequently. I flip-flop back and forth between all of them, but Day seems to be the one that I prefer.
Dude, I totally get that, because like I would say that this about Day of the Dead, I would say it's the one that I've watched the most. I've like rewatched. It's just the most rewatchable.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I got to give Dawn props because it's the shit, and it was the first movie that got me into horror movies. Honestly, first horror movie I saw where it was like, fuck, that was awesome. I want to see a million more of these.
Well, I mean, it just speaks to Romero as a director. I mean, he can, from what I understand, The Walking Dead owes a whole lot to George Romero, and just his ability to create
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just the ability to take, this awesome horror movie theme, and then all of his movies, the real plot of the movie isn't the zombies attacking. The plot of the movie is the tension between the people stuck in this situation. Every one of his movies is the tension of the people in this situation because of this horrible thing going on in reality around them. But it's cool because he did that well and made it scary well, and just the blood and the gore and everything was done just right. It's like they're the perfect movies for horror fans. But anyway, yeah, go see it.
Now, educate me. There have been other sequels since, done much more recently, right?
Yeah, they did. The first three were Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, and then
In that order?
The cool thing
in that order, yeah. So
the cool
Night,
thing
Dawn,
too,
Dead.
they spanned across like so many years.
Yeah,
Because Night, I believe, came out in like 68 or 69.
69, I think. Yeah,
69, yes. And then Dawn was what, like 78?
77 or
Okay.
75 even. No, 75 was Rocky Horror. 77. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna guess 78. We'll have to check this later.
No, man, you're wrong.
Okay, I'm saying, I'm guessing. I thought it was. And then Day was like what, 85?
82.
Okay.
No, 85. No, it is 85. Yeah, because
85,
it's
okay.
the anniversary.
Alright, I'm just quizzing you, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 85.
I'm just fucking with you.
Well, so the more, because there's been like a couple that have come out like in the last like 10 or 15
yeah,
years,
then
right?
totally. Land of the Dead.
Came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
and they were directed by Romero also?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was like his comeback flick because, it was weird because he didn't do one for the '90s. Yeah. You kind of, and I think people kind of thought that it was just going to be a trilogy, and it was just a trilogy because
Yeah.
he never did one in the '90s.
No.
How about you? Did you think that? I never thought he would do another one.
I didn't think he was going to do another one, no. And he had done a lot of great stuff since then, too.
And I got to say, I dug Land a lot personally.
I liked it. If you've ever read, we talked about this once. If you've ever read the Day of the Dead script, the original script for Day of the Dead, huge portions of the stuff that was going on in Land of the Dead was kind of pulled from the original Day of the Dead script. The original Day of the Dead was supposed to be a much larger scale movie, and they just lost a lot of funding over the content. But so Land was cool, but after that they did Diary of the Dead and Survival of the Dead.
Yeah.
And I actually really like Survival. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but I like that one a lot. They're like on an island.
I'd have to watch that again, but that one, it was losing me. And Diary.
It was like Diary was like not a found footage movie, but it was like the whole zombie outbreak thing happening through the lenses of different people's like cameras and stuff like that, through like news reports or these people that have like a what the hell was it, like a camcorder kind of thing they were using.
I thought it was entertaining enough, but
Yeah.
it just like, in Day of the Dead, I don't think held up to any of the first three, but I thought it was good.
Day of the Dead,
No, I'm sorry. Land of the Dead.
Land of the Dead, yeah.
It's so confusing. But yeah, I don't think it held up to the first three, but I still thought it was really good. And it was, the weird thing about that movie is, to me, it kind of felt like John Carpenter making a Dead movie. Like,
Oh, I can see what you mean by
I
that.
thought the way like Romero directed it.
Yeah, it was a very different feel. It was the first one he did that wasn't claustrophobic. Also, all the rest of them are people trapped somewhere, trapped in a house, trapped in the mall, or trapped in this bunker
Did it
underground.
kind of feel like Ghost of Mars a little bit too? It didn't feel like it a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but I've never thought about it like that.
And like Ghost of Mars, it was one of those movies that Carpenter did that I always just thought, it's okay. I won't say it sucks,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I thought Land kind of felt like that, but I liked it a lot more
Yeah,
to me. So
that's cool. Anyway,
I'm curious, since he did like all these movies that I guess, I mean, they're not like actually story wise like actually linked together. Like it's not like there's no like recurring characters or
No,
anything.
no.
No, but it's kind of like at least for the first three, I always looked at it like Night of the Living Dead is like when the zombies are like first happening.
Yeah.
And then Dawn of the Dead is like when they've been here for a little bit. And in Day of the Dead, it's like they've been here for a while. They've basically conquered like most of the world. There's very few humans left, as far as you know, and it's the only humans that you know about in the movie. The humans that you see are like they've been living in like a military bunker for years, you know.
Mhm.
So it's and they've like lost radio contact, and they have no way of telling it who else is out there. So it kind of seems like the world has been like taken by zombies.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
I'm just curious. I mean, since like you were saying, like it's really, you know, it's not about the zombies, it's about the people.
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, if there's been anything noticeable, like, as far as like the commentary on social dynamics or whatever that changed since he made them over.
Yeah,
such
like
a
Romero was
long
all about
span.
that, dude.
Yeah, I mean, almost all of his movies have something like that going on. Like, did you ever see the original The Crazies that he did?
Yes. Yes.
It's freaking great. Yeah,
Yeah, it's totally cool.
But
I
again,
that shit on VHS still.
yeah, that's awesome. But again, the same kind of thing. It's great too, actually, because he's really heavily criticizing the government in that one to the point where the Crazies is like about a. Did you see it?
No, I haven't.
Like a disease, or no, it's not a disease. It was like a chemical agent that the government had been working on. Somehow got released in this small town, and basically the whole town of people go fucking insane, with the exception of a few. And the government comes in, quarantines the town, and the few that are in there are trying to get out, and they're finding themselves blocked every step of the way. And it's great. At the very end of the movie, should I say or not? At the very end of the movie, something
Spoiler
happens
alert.
where basically just the fucked up bureaucracy that is blocks someone from being able to actually fix the problem. I mean, it's very critical of the government at the time. Very much, kind of a anti-Vietnam kind of sentiment going on in there.
Yeah, and was it Night of the Living Dead? It was 68, 69. They like it was in that time. It was there was actually a black character.
Dwayne Jones.
Yeah,
is the actor's
a
name.
black actor was the lead role.
Just unheard of in a movie in 1969.
Exactly.
There's even a scene in it where the one woman he's with is just completely freaking out. He's someone they've just met because they happen to find this one house to hide in, and she freaks out, and he punches her in the face and knocks her out. So you've got a movie in 1969 with the hero, a black man, punching a white woman in the face, and I mean, just the balls of Romero to even do that.
Yeah.
And there were people freaking out about that as much as some people freaking out about the higher level of violence this movie had. It's the first movie to ever show carnage. Like there had been zombie movies and monster movies where someone gets eaten, but you don't see it. This was the first one where you actually see them having it's black and white, but they have like chunks of people's hands and arms, and they're ripping the meat away from it and fighting over the entrails and stuff. That just so much didn't exist until that movie.
Yeah, totally. I don't. You could also say a lot about Blood Feast.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's not a zombie movie, but I
Yeah.
think that came out in like 63 or 64.
Yeah,
maybe?
it's way earlier. Herschel Gordon Lewis's movie was way earlier.
Yeah, I mean, well, some of them, but I mean.
Well, I'm talking about
he
2000
definitely hit that
Maniacs,
earlier.
Blood Feast.
He definitely hit that at least 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
With Blood Feast, and in that you'll actually see a dude cut out a tongue.
Cut a tongue out, cuts out a heart.
Yeah, for that time period, it's for any time period, it's gory, but
Yeah.
for that time period, it was unheard of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely recommend some Herschel Gordon Lewis if nobody's ever seen it. He was just always about pushing that gore envelope, before there was any gore. So that dude's cool. But yeah, Romero, if you had to give any one man credit for the modern day zombie movie, it would have to be Romero.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's basically he started the craze.
Well, I feel like I need to go back and watch all those because
You
I've
definitely
seen
should,
at least parts of. I think I've seen most of, although maybe not in one sitting. Of
We should have a
Dawn of the
zombie
Dead.
movie.
You said that's
Yeah,
one.
fuck
That's one
yeah.
in the mall, right?
Dawn is
of the
the
Dead.
second one.
So I've seen. I think
It's actually probably it's probably the best out of all of them. If I had to put a crown on one, I'd actually put it on Dawn. But Day is just so much more. I don't know. It's just a lot cooler for me.
it's Romero's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is, man? It's the whole thing with them being trapped underground. It's they're in a bunker, but it's like they're buried alive. And the movie made me nervous. it's big parts of it are really dark, and you know that there's just thousands of these things everywhere. Some of them are down in the cave with them, but you don't know where they are. The movie made me nervous. The other two I really enjoyed. They're cool. They were scary. A lot of fun to watch. But that was the one that when I was a kid scared me.
It really gets under your skin.
Yeah. I got a little bit of claustrophobia too, though, so that's probably a big part of it.
Well, that sounds like that would play on that. But I can definitely, I really appreciate movies that like aren't just gory, but just really get under your skin. Like I was just talking about this. I don't know why it came up. I was talking with a friend the other day about Poltergeist, which I don't think has any real violence or gore in it that I can recall.
One
except
scene
for
where the guy peels
the
his
very
face
end.
off. But no, not even in the end. No.
But overall, I mean, it's it's a psychological thing,
Yeah.
and that to me as a child, like it wasn't like I couldn't go to sleep at night or anything like that. I wasn't that kind of kid, but it definitely it freaked the fuck out of me. And if I watched it again today, that'd be freaky as hell.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
It's really fucks with your head. We can
Totally.
say fuck, right?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want to.
Hopefully we can.
I mean, you're libertarian.
It's a free basement. You can do whatever you want down here.
free basement.
It's free basement, haven't you heard?
So
You declared sovereignty in your basement.
he said the free and independent kingdom of Matt Bergman.
Basement, yeah.
This new Freeland. So, what about the study? It was in Iowa. It was actually done by, oh God, hold on, I'm bringing it up. I can't remember who did it now. The University of Iowa put this on, and it was sponsored. It was a study sponsored by the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, and the Office of National Drug Control Policy. And they were studying, now that marijuana is becoming legalized in several places, they can actually do some research with it now out in the open that they couldn't do before. And they were studying the effects of marijuana on people's driving. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would agree, if you've been smoking weed, it's relatively easy to drive afterwards. Not that I would do that, not that I would advocate that, but compared to drinking, it's a lot easier to drive afterwards.
And plus, why would you drink and drive when you can smoke and fly?
Yeah, why? Why would you? But anyway, what they found was that there was no significant impairment to the subjects they had used that had been smoking marijuana, and compared to the ones who had been drinking, because they tested both against each other, the people who were smoking marijuana scored the same scores to better than those who had a 0.08 blood alcohol content, which is the legal limit in most states in the United States. So they were actually performing at or better than people who were at the legal drinking limit to begin with.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that ostensibly what they were trying to study is where they could set a legal limit.
Yeah.
So I know the state's in a rush to figure out how to identify this stuff, as far as DUI is concerned.
Yeah.
But both how to determine it as well as what is the limit or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wonder, I mean, were they
you
testing like for people with different, levels of marijuana intoxication? Like
They, according to the thing, they were, but it didn't have the. I don't even remember how they were measuring it now. There was some like THC measurement thing they could do, but that was the interesting thing.
Like the amount in your blood.
You had to be measured in your blood, which is one of
Yeah.
the things that's going to fuck up the police. You can't measure it through a breathalyzer.
Yeah.
You couldn't even measure it through saliva because of the way it metabolizes.
Yeah.
You pretty much can only measure it with blood work, and I just can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine actually, but
You don't want to.
I don't want to imagine the police pulling me over and drawing my blood. Like they have to be fucking phlebotomists now as well, to see if I'm possibly under the influence.
I mean, obviously the
anything.
precedent is theirs. I mean, I'm sure it depends on state law, but there's lots of places where I don't think they can do it roadside. But like if you get arrested for DUI based on a breathalyzer, they'll take you back to a station, give you a blood test there.
Right.
I guess to have that much more hard evidence to
And with the kind of things
prosecute
that
you
we're
in court, but-
reporting on here all the time anyway, it's all they have to do is just say that you blew in a breathalyzer and then take you back, because it doesn't seem to really matter anymore if you did something or didn't do it. They're going to fuck you one way or the other if they have the opportunity to.
Oh yeah, well, and that's just the thing. I mean, it's like the war on drugs, for example, and everything else. I mean, it's a proxy. It's an excuse to fuck with you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me, though, that they actually have probably not the evidence they were looking for, because it was sponsored by 3 government agencies who probably didn't get what they were looking for here. You can't have this study
Which
and
is
now
shocking,
say
because they
that-
always somehow manage to find exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly, but they've got the study right here saying no, actually this isn't a problem. And I have a feeling, with the exception of a couple, news sources, you're not even going to hear about this. This won't make mainstream news.
Well, of course not.
Yeah. Anything, you know what? Because people aren't afraid. You have to keep everybody afraid so that you can get what you want out of them.
Well, you know who the real people we need to hear from on this are, though. And I'm being dead serious about this. Insurance adjusters. So I guarantee you, it's their job to know how the stats are and what the factors are involved in things like wrecking cars. It's their money on the line.
Yeah.
That's what the adjuster's job is to do, is to understand the nature of these risks. So I guarantee you, the insurance adjusters out there at least have been looking into and probably have some good idea of what the actual, at least statistical, results are. The insurance companies out there know for a fact whether or not they're having to pay out more claims in Colorado because of weed or not.
Yeah.
They have to be knowing this stuff, and so that's what I'd be really curious to hear from, or even if just people can just look into just see what the insurance rates are like in Colorado, and if they're no higher than anywhere else, well, then obviously the insurance companies aren't seeing any, larger payouts because of people getting into wrecks or whatever. Not that that's the complete story, but that's going to be unbiased, because all they care about are the raw data and how it affects their money. That's the unbiased source I would want to hear from.
Word.
All right. So I guess moving on, there was for those of you who've been living under a fucking rock, there was another mass shooting in, is it Roseburg? Roseburg. Are you sure it wasn't Rosenberg?
I'm pretty sure, dude.
Pretty sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe you. It's in Oregon.
I want to hear you pronounce the name of the school.
I don't even know the name of the school. In fact, I don't even remember how many people were killed now. A shooter went into the school, from what I understand, went into one specific class and started shooting the people in that class. So I don't know if he just randomly walked in and picked, I'm going to fucking shoot these people. If he wanted to shoot a lot, I guess if you've got them trapped in a classroom, that makes them easier to shoot than people, running away from you in a hallway or something like that. So
sure.
if it could be he wanted to do the maximum damage he could, or it could be that he had a beef with someone in that class that, we don't know yet.
Well, wasn't there like a rumor, or wasn't there like stories he only shot Christians or something?
I did hear that. that has been reported on, and supposedly.
How the fuck would you know that?
Well, no, it was.
Apparently he was asking people.
There was supposedly. I didn't hear the girl say it herself, but what they're saying is that this girl who was in the classroom was a victim. She might have actually been shot herself. Was one of the people that was injured, or at least the story goes, she was in the classroom while it happened, and he said something effective like, all the Christians stand up or something like that. And he said, good, you're going to meet your God in just a second or something. And he shot them all in the head, whereas other people, you just shoot them in the body. I don't know. It doesn't even make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And either way, the guy's clearly a total madman. So, what does it really matter what the nature of his lunatic ravings was? But, again, supposedly that was, testimony from somebody that was in the classroom as it was happening. But all the background I've heard about this guy is completely all over the map and makes no sense.
I've heard some crazy shit about him that I don't know if I even believe or not.
Yeah, apparently he had his username on a dating profile was like Iron Cross or some sort of other Nazi reference, and then he had a bunch of IRA propaganda on a MySpace page, which makes me wonder who the hell uses MySpace. That's what everybody keeps talking about.
Backwards ass fucking losers.
I'm like, what are you talking about? MySpace? Who the hell uses that? That's maybe the weirdest part of all.
Do you think if you're on MySpace, your name should be on the list?
Probably.
What I read was that
MySpace is probably just an NSA front anyway. Let's be honest here.
One of the things I read said that he was on a terror list, but a terror list not recognized by the United States for contributing to ISIS or ISIL or one of those things. I don't believe the majority of the stuff I'm reading, but it just interests me that, in past shootings, we find out everything relatively quickly. And with this one, it's just a glut of misinformation floating around out there. I can't believe that every single thing that I'm reading about this is true. It's just too fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, the guy's clearly completely nuts off his rockers. So, I mean, I'm willing to believe any old weird thing. But at the same time, I mean, some of this stuff just seems contradictory. I mean, we know that they get this stuff, whether intentionally or by accident, they get this stuff wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so God only knows what's true and what's not. But regardless of that, of course, our wonderful President Barack Obama still saw fit to immediately make a political issue out of it, despite nobody having really any clue of what actually happened.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Who didn't see that coming?
Well, when the Newton shooting, where the 26 children got shot by that Adam Lanza loser, that was...
well, it was only, I think, about 20 kids.
20 kids.
Do you think these things
it was
happen?
26 totals. The adults were the other 6.
26 might have made it,
or maybe,
might have been including the adults.
Might even,
do you think these things happen?
Although there were
Obama's
26 children killed in Waco. Let's not forget that.
No, let's not forget that.
Do you think these things happen and Barack Obama was like, okay, I'm going to sell more guns? Because every time he speaks, like, people just buy a whole bunch more guns.
Yeah.
Well, that's been like a running joke in the gun industry, is like gun salesman of the year, Barack Obama.
Jesus Christ. When the Newton shooting happened, he, immediately, just like always, whenever one of these things happens, comes out and does the same thing he's doing this time. And he was talking about how it was going to become a large part of his campaign was to deal with, gun control and things like that. And he hasn't done fuck all. He hasn't done anything. I mean, he's been basically silent, ineffectual on any kind of gun control whatsoever. And then this happens, and he's back up there just saying the same shit again. I mean, he's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not that
no. I'm just saying he's fucking talking through his ass, and everyone's buying it again.
I don't know how much he
foreign
can
policy.
do.
I mean, there you
exactly.
Go. Talk about ending the wars.
I know
he's drone striking children. And
I don't know how much he can do.
I think so. Why is he saying it then? That's what I'm getting at. Not that he can or should do anything. I mean, but what the fuck is he even bothering running his mouth for?
I mean, like he has written a shitload of
executive
executive orders.
Yeah.
He has written a shitload of executive orders, but I think what he's doing, I think he's just trying to create a conversation amongst the American people. And I think he wants, because once he gets a majority of people to go along with him, the political candidates are going to go along with him because they're going to want to get elected by these people. He's trying to sway the popular opinion.
I would say, I mean, what he's doing, I mean, and I personally, call me conspiracy theorist or something, but I do, I absolutely believe that he's Marxist to his core. Even if he wouldn't call himself that, that's what his ideology is. And it's premised, certainly the progressive movement is premised on dividing people and turning them against one another. And so I think it may not serve him politically per se, other than indirectly. It just serves to split and divide the culture that much more over a very contentious issue like gun control.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say he is necessarily Marxist. I mean, I think he's crony capitalist.
Well, I mean, that's effectively the tool of Marxists.
Yeah, well,
that's
I mean,
the point.
Crony.
It kind of leads you there. I mean, well, I'd say it definitely leads you there, but I do think there is a difference. I think it's like a varying level of Marxism.
So I guess you say he's more of just a pragmatic, opportunistic, run-of-the-mill criminal more than ideological.
I think he's a politician. I think he might try to sound like a Marxist a little bit, but when it comes down to it, he's got private people pulling his strings like anybody else. Like, I don't think he necessarily believes in Marxism. I think he believes in Barack Obama's fucking presidential career.
Well, okay, but that's all the more Marxists have ever really... I mean, Fidel Castro, Joseph Stalin, they didn't really want to help their fellow man because otherwise they wouldn't, have been like slaughtering them by the millions or whatever. But it's the tool they use. Yeah. Would be my argument. But ultimately, in the end, I mean, what does it really matter what it's called or
right.
or anything like that, or whether he's using it as a tool of convenience or whether it really is his true ideological
if you're
bend.
hungry for power, it's
Really
a convenient stance to have if that's what you really want.
Yeah,
and then
it's just a certain brand of sophistry. Ultimately, is what it is.
And then the icing on the cake of it all is so Barry speaks out about Roseburg, and then it was like the next day or so later, he bombs a hospital in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
That's not hypocritical.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So killing civilians.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, but you care about people dying.
And I mean, do you have any stats? Like, does anybody have it in front of them? Like, how many people, like innocent people, were killed? How many children were killed?
18 killed, another 20 wounded. Of the 18 killed, let me back up a little bit. There was an hour and a half airstrike where this hospital, which was known to be it was reported to be there. It was a Doctors Without Borders hospital, and 18 people killed, another 20 wounded. Of that 18, 6 were children.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just earlier this week, Russia did those airstrikes on Syria, and the president immediately comes out and condemns it, and all the politicians come out and condemn it, specifically because Russia's supporting, was it Mubarak, is that his name, or Assad? Assad.
I think Mubarak's in Egypt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Supporting Assad, and then just 3 days later, we're fucking bombing innocent civilians and killing them. It's just amazing the stance that you could have, that you would call for disarming your own people while at the same time bombing the shit out of other people. It's like, it's okay to murder if we do it, but no one else is allowed to.
Yeah.
And we're not even murdering in self-defense. I mean, the majority
Which
of
makes it much worse.
Yeah, the majority of gun people, gun owners, or just people who support the Second Amendment understand that it's there for defense. No one in their right mind wants guns because they want to go around and kill people. Everyone I know who owns a gun would pray that they would never have to use it ever. But that would be a situation of extreme duress, a situation where your life is actually on the line. I can't imagine anything that the president or our military or our government would need to worry about with pretty much anyone anywhere else in the world, specifically a children's hospital. It's ridiculous.
Well, particularly. I mean, have they issued any statement about, like, whoops, we accidentally hit this hospital? I mean, I assume they're at least selling it as an accident.
This happened, I think, on Friday, and I haven't read anything about it. I haven't seen anything about it in the news, which is another thing that just bothers me to the core. I guess we can talk about people not trusting the news in a little bit, but no one cares. No one's reporting on any of these things. You have to go to alternative news sources, or go to the BBC. You can see this stuff on, in BBC, or go to Al Jazeera. You can read this stuff on Al Jazeera. But the American media refuses to report on these things even.
Yeah, well, and I mean, this is a beautiful thing about the internet. It's not just about different opinions, but it's just about flat out access to information. I mean, this is as revolutionary as what was it, Gutenberg inventing the printing press and translating the Bible into English. I mean, this is about people getting access to information, and it's more than just the information you have access to. It also enlightens you as to how much information has been withheld to you.
Yeah, really.
It's like the concept of lying by omission, sort of. I mean, there's what you don't say says as much as what you do say.
Yeah.
In a lot of these situations, and certainly when you're talking about the media, where that's their friggin' job.
Yeah.
You can see clearly that they don't have a job; they have an agenda.
Yeah, and I would agree that is a great thing about the internet, but I would also like to point out that the internet's been fucked in recent years with between Google omitting certain search results, and then between on Facebook you can't see what people and pages post. You're limited to so little in comparison to all the information that you were receiving just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, potentially. I feel like
it's all because of government regulating the internet.
Well, sure.
The great thing about the internet was that it was so free, and I mean, I guess it still is free in comparison to a lot of things. But I don't know. There's a lot of regulation going on there.
It makes it difficult for the average person to get well informed on things. If you know where to look for certain kinds of things, you'll find more honest news sources. You'll find news outlets that are reporting things you don't normally say. But the average person doesn't even know where to begin. They only know what fucking Yahoo News or MSNBC or CNN or Fox is spitting at them, and that's pretty much where they leave off.
I would be curious to know, like, how much proof there is that Facebook is, like, putting the brakes on certain pages on Facebook, like just censoring certain information.
I mean, it's no doubt going on, but considering they're the ones doing it, I mean, I don't know really how you're going to get those statistics. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
It's
I
a
mean,
good question.
unless somebody, in the company came out with it.
But
Somebody pulled a Snowden on Facebook.
But I mean,
Do it.
But of course, the beauty of the internet being at least as free as it is, which is certainly a hell of a lot more free than virtually any other aspect of modern society, is even if you do run into problems like Facebook doing shady or dumb shit, there's at least an avenue for it to being fixed. The free market doesn't say that things will be perfect, but what it does say is that there's at least a mechanism, a means, and an avenue for people to trend towards and move in the direction towards improvements. So,
Are you guys on
it's a matter of
Minds.com?
No.
On what?
On
Minds.
Minds.com?
Like landmines?
No, like
or
the
No,
Minds,
it's
your
called
mind.
Minds.
Yeah, your mind.
MINDSE.com.
DSE?
No, I said SE.
Yeah, you did.
Minds.com. MINDS.com.
S.
Sorry.
.com.
Okay. Sorry, I'm still blazed.
You threw me for a loop there. No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it's just really cool. It's like I'd say it's probably even simpler Facebook. And if you're on Facebook, you'll be able to get Minds easily. They're new. They're still working out their kinks. The only problem is you're not going to know anybody on there. There are, however, thousands of people on there. I'm not sure exactly how many, but they do have a lot of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has some promise if just more people would go there. I don't know. Like,
I think that's the problem with these things. I mean, you sort of need like a critical mass of
Yeah.
people to adopt stuff, which I guess is kind of problematic. How do you get around that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the more Facebook sucks, the more people will be looking for other
avenues.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean by even if Facebook sucks and there's no solution right now, at least there's a mechanism for somebody to do something.
Yeah, I mean
I want a solution right now.
That's what happened to MySpace though when Facebook came along. I mean, a better thing came along and people migrated to it. And, it didn't happen overnight, but it wasn't within a year of Facebook coming out. Everyone I knew was on it, including myself.
I do have to wonder though if maybe it's actually becoming a generational thing. So I think I'm probably the youngest actually out of the three of us. We're all at least in our 30s or older. And what I hear is that all the young kids these days say that Facebook is lame and that's for old people.
They don't use it,
and they use other stuff. So I mean, I think part of this is maybe we just sort of have a myopic view as middle-aged white males that we think that Facebook is everything. But meanwhile, I mean, obviously things like Twitter are huge. I don't use Twitter at all.
The majority of my kids don't use Facebook. They the majority of them use stuff that I don't even know about. I don't even really care to know either.
Fucking Grinder.
Yeah. They're fucking 10, man.
Jesus. You're terrible. But yeah, well, so there you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
the kids I had like 10 years ago, like they pop up in my crawl on Facebook now, like people you may know, and I'm like, no fucking way, I'm not adding you. But yeah, that pretty much seems to be where it is. Like I don't know any young people anymore that use it. I know they're out there, but I think it's going away.
Free market.
Personally, like I know some younger people that use it.
Yeah.
And I also even know like kids of friends that use it.
Yeah.
So
Anecdotal evidence, throw it out.
I had my turn, now it's yours.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, but yeah, it is no doubt not as hot for kids as it is for older people.
Yeah.
That is true. So
The other thing too is older people have a lot of friends that live all over the goddamn place. I mean, when I started getting on Facebook, one of my favorite things about it was I've got friends all over the country, and it was a great way to keep in touch with those people. A lot more personal than just like, an email every now and then or something like that. Whereas, a 16-year-old, all his fucking friends live like, he goes to school with them every day.
yeah,
So-
totally. It was like I remember being on MySpace, and I was finding all these friends that I hadn't seen since I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
And thinking, wow, we're friends on MySpace. We're never going to lose touch ever again. And I remember thinking that. And it's like, and I mean, it's kind of true because then, most of those people now I know on Facebook. And, no matter what social network's next, I'll probably find, the people that are important on there as they'll find me and vice versa, whatever. But, it is pretty cool to think like, like 30 years ago, you didn't have anything like this, It's just another example of like technology making our lives better.
Yeah, and that's one thing that annoys me is people say that all this technology is tearing people apart. People have their faces buried in their phone instead of talking to people, and maybe there's something to that. But what they don't realize is that their faces buried in their phone, talking to countless people that they never would like be able to otherwise. Whether it's family members across the country. Like if my face is buried in my phone, sometimes it's because I'm looking at videos of my nieces who live several states away, who I'm seeing moments of them growing up that I never would have a chance to see before.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful connection that I never would have had.
My complaint is when people are doing that when you're already doing something. Like you go out to dinner or something like that, and you've got that asshole friend who
you're trying to do a podcast and somebody's like on their phone.
Yeah, I know. Just like that. It's the documents, man.
No, yeah.
I understand they've been missing lately.
No, yeah, it's like every time Alexis Schlegel is on the show, he's like always playing on his phone at least at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, come on, we're starting here.
Yeah, I mean,
is he still in the area?
I love Alexis though, but
Alexis?
yeah, he's still in the area. Yeah.
You mean Alex?
Yeah,
that's who he means.
Dude, that's his professional name.
Oh,
his stage name.
I got you. I haven't seen him in a while.
Dude, I can make a stage name for you, Ethan.
You should. I don't want my real name to be associated.
We like
with
stage names.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I met him years ago through Campaign for Liberty, probably like 2009-ish. I was involved with them like after the 2008 Ron Paul campaign.
Yeah.
So I met him through that. A couple of people that you're friends with, like mutual friends that I had no idea were mutual friends, I'd met before through Campaign for Liberty. Which I have no idea what they're up to these days.
Yeah, dude, it's
sending emails asking people for money.
Think about how amazing that
sounds
is,
about
though.
right.
It's like the fucking internet, and it seems like us libertarians, like the hardcore people, like we always find each other.
Well, because we need to. I mean,
it's fucking awesome, though.
We're a minority.
It's lonely without each other.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a state like
the
Maryland.
fucking internet, it's amazing.
Absolutely. So again, I mean, these are personal connections that never would have been made before. So it just always annoys me that people would complain about new technology and say, "Oh, well, it was way better when I was a kid." When walked both ways to school uphill in the snow. And
I mean, what are we going to be bitching about in 20 years? Who knows?
That's true.
But yeah, we got way the hell off topic there. That's cool. Can we go back to Afghanistan?
Sure.
Would you like to?
Sure.
They have beautiful snow-capped mountains in Afghanistan. That's true.
I believe it.
They also have child molestation.
Yeah. Dude.
Organized child molestation, institutionalized child molestation. If you are wealthy enough, they have something there. The Afghan word for it is bacha-bazi, which means boy play. And or boy games, and they take young boys, very young boys, keep them shaved, put makeup on them, dress them up as women, and basically train them to be erotic dancers from a very, very young age. And they basically have sex slaves. It's very common in the military for these things to go on, and in the police forces. Basically, anywhere where you have power over someone and you do the maximum damage exploiting people, it's very, very popular there. And one of the justifications for it is that you can now have sex outside of marriage, and because it's homosexual sex with basically a slave, it doesn't go against their cultural taboos. It's something that's been practiced there for a long time. The problem is that our U.S. soldiers are over there wrongfully to begin with, and they've seen what's going on here, and they're reporting it and being told, "Oh, that's just a cultural thing. We have to accept that." The allies that they are working with, our U.S. soldiers are working with men who are doing this, and a few soldiers have now kind of made a thing of it and been stripped of their commands and things like that. So not only is it being suppressed, but it's actually being punished. And I'm just wondering how much good we think we're doing when this is what we're allowing to happen. I mean, can you imagine like standing like 10 feet away from like a kid with a dick up his ass and not wanting to do something about that to help? Or even better, being told, oh no, we can't do that. We just have to let that go. This is what they do here.
Yeah, well, that's one more reason why I absolutely hate cultural relativism, moral relativism. But I don't know. I mean, I guess that just speaks to, if we actually had good intentions over there, then obviously we shouldn't be tolerating that kind of thing.
We always say that we're fighting for freedom, and the perfect opportunity that comes up to provide freedom, and we're actually turning a blind eye.
Yeah.
For what? I don't even know why.
Yeah. I mean, there's...
well, obviously, it's not because there's any interest in the welfare of the actual Afghan people.
No.
That really does speak volumes, though, because certainly to us in the West, that's about the most abhorrent thing you could possibly do is to have a child sex slave.
Yeah,
that's pretty much at the top of the list of terrible things. I mean, here in the West, prisoners who have committed violent crimes will still fuck you up for doing something like that because even to them, that's just too atrocious.
It is.
Child abuse and trauma. I'm huge into Stefan Molyneux. I think he's fantastic, especially the stuff that he's talked about when it comes to childhood trauma and how that plays into violence and whatever.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that doesn't really surprise me. When you see, I mean, for sure there's lots of propaganda BS about, radical Islam and this and that, whatever, but there's also lots of crazy, heinous, evil shit that goes on in that part of the world. Unfortunately, that doesn't really surprise me. And you got people running around, doing suicide bombings. Raping them as small children is no small part of turning people into crazy, murderous psychopaths.
Nope.
And the fact that we pretend to be fighting a war on terror, and here we have the fundamental genesis of terrorism, which is childhood trauma and abuse of children, and we don't do anything about that. We're clearly not interested in helping people. We're clearly not interested in ending terrorism. So, like you said, and the question is, what the hell are we over there for? Because it sure as hell ain't for any of the reasons they're telling us.
Nope.
I mean, that's just inescapable. I mean, how can you allow that to go on? And it'll be telling too, like we talked about earlier, as to what media outlets do or don't cover that.
Well, the interesting thing is that this has been, it's over there. It's a cultural problem that's been going on for centuries, but this has been known. As I'm reading about this, I'm looking back, and this has been going on for a couple years. That this has been reported by U.S. soldiers and British soldiers as well over there, and it's taken 2 years just for us to find out about it. And God knows how long before that it was going on, and people have been reporting it as well. So it's been years of being covered up, and it's right out there in the open. The only reason we're knowing about it is because people are coming home and talking about it. But the news hasn't said anything about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
The mainstream media, I mean.
Yeah, and it's really fucked up too, because right now you've got all these gun grabbers out there, pleading for no more murder, no more killing. But meanwhile, those same people don't give a shit about Barry's military-industrial complex, Barry's drone bombings, just killing all these people overseas. And then, got people talking about rape culture. What the fuck about this, Yeah.
Oh, the feminists will be completely silent.
Yeah, man.
And that's why I say it's so important to look at not just what people do say and what they don't say. I mean, I'm very strongly anti-feminist on many different levels. I mean, it's become just another front for leftism, in my opinion. But it's so telling, what they do and what they don't talk about. Particularly what they don't talk about, and of course they condemn the West for this mythical rape culture all the time, and meanwhile seem to have no interest in real legitimate sex crimes and trafficking and everything that goes on throughout the world. Not a peep from them. Yeah. That's just a tragedy, because now they've got people not only misinformed, not knowing what's going on, but they're distracting them with other nonsensical bullshit. It's worse than just. It's not like anybody has an obligation to go champion every single wrong that's ever been perpetrated, in the world.
Yeah.
But when they pretend to be about one thing, and you have the most glaring, egregious examples of this shit, and not a peep, that says more than anything else.
I feel like a lot of people who kind of take that tack to begin with really don't want to commit to any conversation where something that's not directly in their line of thought would occur. So if you can't come at them with any kind of conversation outside of the one thing that they want to talk about. And I mean, it just goes to show how shallow their point of view is to begin with. I don't mean morally shallow. I mean just the depth of it to begin with. They've got this one agenda, push that one agenda, and if anything falls outside of that, it either doesn't exist or you're attacking them somehow. And I'm not just talking about feminism. I'm talking about anyone who just wants to put blinders up to every other fucked up thing happening around them and just focus on the one thing. And goddamn you if you don't focus on that one thing with them. Even if you agree, you would never even have the opportunity to agree because you're a fuck for not doing what I am doing at that time. So, fuck.
So, hey, Ethan. So I've had a number of conversations with you before. So you're a fan of Christopher Cantwell?
I'm a huge fan.
Okay.
I would
tell us about that.
I would I very readily identify as what I don't think anybody outside of libertarianism has ever heard of, but libertarian brutalism. I'm a big fan of. And for those that haven't heard of it before, basically it's actually a reference not to brutality, but actually a certain type of architecture called brutalism that apparently was actually very popular in Eastern Europe, behind the Iron Curtain or whatever. And so the whole idea of architecturally, like what it was very minimalist and all about function and not form. And so they would have the air ducts and stuff would all be exposed, and they would actually sort of put that kind of stuff, the functional aspects of a building, for example, would be put front and center, and that was supposed to be sort of the aesthetic appeal, was the functionality of it. And so it's I wouldn't say a reduction, but
it's the anti-Frank Lloyd Wright. It's
I guess in some ways, and I am no student of architecture. Don't get me wrong. Although I have been, he did Falling Water, right?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, I've been there.
He was all functional, but it was also a beauty to it, as opposed to sounds like what you're describing. But
sure, yeah. Well, no, this is all very solid gray concrete because that's the most efficient kind of thing. I mean, this was the thing in mid 20th century Eastern Europe, Soviet style kind of shit. But anyway, the point of it being that it's not a minimalist approach; it's a distillation of basically the non-aggression principle, and it's a bit of a reaction to what many would call sort of leftist influences, social justice warrior influences on the liberty movement that tries to make it about non-aggression principle plus anti-racist and this and that and whatever. Yeah. And what libertarian brutalism says is okay, it's fine to be anti-racist or whatever, but that fundamentally has nothing to do with the political aspects of, or the philosophical aspects of non-aggression. It says that non-aggression is really the only thing that fundamentally matters. Yeah. Anything beyond that is largely just aesthetic preference or opinion. I think racism is stupid. I think it's pretty abominable, and I'm not just associating with racists, but there's nothing. I would agree
with you that the non-aggression principle matters most, but at the same time, I don't know. I think Cantwell kind of comes off as a racist dickhead. And
he's definitely confrontational, and he's deliberately confrontational.
Yeah, I mean, sure. his whole shtick obviously is Chris.
I wouldn't say he's racist. I've never heard him say anything particularly racist. Maybe some racist jokes, but they're jokes. And, that's the whole point of it, is that it's a joke.
Well, I think I saw the other day I think it was a black drag queen or something commented on his website and was threatening him with a lawsuit because some of his fans were
it wasn't
some nasty shit to her.
He wasn't black or she or whatever you want to call this person. It was somebody that goes by the name of
Cantwell
Destiny.
Called the police and referred to her as a chimp or something. It was just something or like a monkey or
no,
something.
well,
I've never read anything by this
I don't
guy,
think he
but
called
I'm
that. I mean,
looking
he
into it now.
definitely had a lot of
I
bad
feel like-
names for it. He called her like a piece of garbage and all this
Yeah, I
other
don't know.
stuff.
I think he said something. I can't remember, dude.
But that
I don't know.
was-
He just
that was-
it just kind of came off as a.
Well, that was in response to, I think the police actually contacted him first about it.
Oh yeah,
but apparently,
no, you're right. They did.
But
Yeah.
this
Yeah, he
person
called
like
back.
it called up was like filing police reports against him for like harassment and this and that, and the police
No,
were
and
basically
that
like, yeah,
was
this
no
person is
doubt dumb.
crazy. Like, just don't talk to them. Like, we'll
Yeah.
make sure he leaves.
That was no doubt
She
dumb. I
leaves
just
you
kind of
alone.
think like he's an antagonizer, and I think he kind of comes off as
Yeah.
a dick. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to bring a lot of people to the
Well, his,
liberty movement.
like the headline on his,
he
and
might
the
bring
headline on his
some people.
website. I think he's changed it since.
It used to be
but it used to be
anarchist
anarchist
atheist
atheist asshole. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's his shtick, and I don't want to use that word 'cause, I mean, it's not pejorative, but
I don't know. I would say that's
think,
his stick.
well, okay, his shtick, whatever you want to call it, is to be confrontational.
There is a place for that though in every argument.
Yeah, and
yeah,
there is.
I think he's serving a role that other people aren't, and
At the same time, like I do fucking I hate PC, man, but I also think you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Well, he's just one voice though. I mean,
He is. You're right.
He's probably
And there's gonna be people
expressing
that he
the
appeals
frustration of a lot of
and-
people,
And if
you
he's
know.
able to get the ideas out to,
I've never even.
if he's able to get
never
the
even heard of him
ideas
till
of the
now.
non-aggression principle out to anybody, I mean that's fucking awesome.
Well, I mean, he recently changed the name of his podcast to Radical Agenda, and he says that his goal is not to try and catch the general public. His point is to take the people that have already gotten into this stuff and radicalize them. That's his whole thing. Is he wants to radicalize people, in support of the non-aggression principle. So I mean, it's just one
I love
voice
the
of
thought
many.
that the non-aggression principle is radical.
Well, yeah, I mean,
The thought that we would do no harm is radical.
yeah, well, and it's funny because that's the way he opens his show now. Is he'll say, welcome to the Radical Agenda, where we talk about radical, crazy, off the wall things like not hitting your children and honesty in the media or whatever it is. And the whole point of it is that this shit should not be radical. And how what does that say about this world when we're talking about what ought to be reasonable things, and this is considered radical. But yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for saying that stuff about him. I don't know that he would even necessarily disagree. I don't think I necessarily disagree. But I think, like you said, I mean, he's just one voice of many. I mean, lots of people in the libertarian community, argue about what strategy is best, what tactic is best. Where should you be focusing your efforts?
And back to before,
I'm one of those.
There's no
for
best.
everything.
I mean, who's to say what is best?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Let it be a
And
free
different
market
people
of
appeal
ideas.
to different people. I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah,
and at
so
the
I
same
think he has his
time,
place.
well, at the same time, there's like half of me that really likes Christopher Cantwell. Like I remember the first time I heard him speak at Porkfest a few years ago. He was like, he honestly put chills in my spine. It was such a great speech.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it moved me. It was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started seeing him speak on the internet, and at first, I thought he was pretty cool. But it seemed as time went by, he was just becoming more and more of an asshole. It's kind of like he's like an anarchist Rush Limbaugh.
Well, I also happen to be a big fan of Rush Limbaugh, so as much of a right-wing statist as he is, actually, I'm a huge fan of him. So
I could see why you would say he's like entertaining. you know?
Absolutely. I mean,
Rush
it's
Limbaugh
hard-
or Cantwell now? Rush Limbaugh now?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like the anarchist version of Rush Limbaugh. It's
well,
basically.
Well, I do think that relatively, as objectively as these things can be, I think objectively Limbaugh is a phenomenal entertainer. I mean, and the numbers prove it. I mean, he's the most successful radio personality probably of all time in any format, really.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I would definitely say he's entertaining, but
Yeah. I mean, he's a genius when he comes to it, I think. It's just as a speaker and what he does, I think he's brilliant. Of course, I disagree with him on a shit ton of stuff.
yeah.
But I still love listening to him.
Fair enough.
But no, I mean, I think there's time and place for everything, and I think that
There's certain people that's the voice they need to hear too. Certain people, that's what
absolutely.
they need to hear. That's the way it'll reach them. It's not really about the message you want to give. It's about how the people you're talking to need to receive that message. And there's going to be some people that's the way it is for them.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't begrudge, I mean, I have huge disagreements with, Jeffrey Tucker. And in fact, it was sort of the brutalism thing was sort of started as a conflict between Tucker and Cantwell. And Tucker sort of is one of those, what do they call them? The other way they put it is thick libertarianism versus thin libertarianism. Brutalism being the thin libertarianism, where you just focus on non-aggression principle, and that's the only thing that matters.
I feel like so many things fall down though if you just concentrate on that to begin with.
Well,
I mean that in a good way. I mean, like, if you can adhere to that, so many other things that are problems. If you're not being aggressive to begin with, those things go away.
Yes,
because you're getting if everyone's getting out of everyone's way, these things can't. A lot of problems are solved just through that.
That's well, yes,
but that does mean having to put up with shit that you don't like. But what
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't think of a
freedom.
single libertarian that I know that hasn't had to at some point vehemently disagree with somebody, but respect their right to do that. And it's the times for me every once in a while where I'm just like, fuck, man. Like, philosophically, I totally support what you're doing and your right to do that and everything, but fuck, you're an asshole. Like, you've got to be able to balance that out. You're not gonna get your way all the time, but that's cool. I mean, you've got to be able to roll with it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the brutalist perspective speaks to, and that's the point, is that as long as we can all agree on non-aggression, as not gospel, but as long as you understand that is objectively true, that there is a moral imperative to adhere to non-aggression, then nothing else really matters. Everything else is just aesthetic preference after that. Like I said, racism I think is I think it's pretty terrible, and I don't like it. I think it's pretty objectionable aesthetically, but functionally, as long as you're not going out and lynching people or doing anything or actually harming somebody else, it's just a nasty inconvenience, at best or whatever, and it cannot be of any fundamentally any greater importance than the non-aggression principle.
Yeah, I mean,
but what
an important role.
But the other thing I was going to say is that despite my disagreements with people, the thick libertarians like Jeffrey Tucker or whatever, with this whole split sort of bore out of, I still think there's a place for what they have to say, and I'm glad that they're out there saying it, because we're all for the free market. If we're, then we need to be for a free market of ideas, and I absolutely welcome all these people and all their voices, and that includes your criticism of them. Calling Cantwell an asshole. Keep doing that.
Righteous.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, there's half of me that does really like them, but I just think you could be better about some things.
Yeah, but we could all improve.
Yep, that's true.
All right. Well, getting back to the children being molested in Afghanistan and the bombs being dropped on the hospital and no one actually saying anything about it here in the United States. There was a report. Was it just released last week? I read about it last week. Do you remember where it came from? I'm drawing a blank now.
Was it the Washington Post?
Perhaps. It was basically what did it come out with? And I'm assuming this is just polling, but 60% of the American people have voted no confidence in their news, in the media. Yeah, mainstream media. Over half the people in the United States now don't believe what's being fed to them, which is a good thing, a bad thing. What are your opinions?
Well, yeah, it's basically. I mean, you could say. I mean, my first thought is, wow, okay, that's a good thing, because the mainstream media sucks. It's cool that people aren't necessarily buying into it 100%, and people are questioning that. That's a good thing. And of course, in other ways, I'd say it sucks that we don't have a more trustworthy media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, given that that's the media we have, then it's good that at least 60% of them don't trust them. Or 60%
Totally,
of the way there.
Yeah.
I think, but at least it shows that people are thinking critically. I mean, it's not about what you think; it's about how you think.
It does go to show how polarizing the media has gotten, though. I mean, everything that I see in mainstream media, for the most part, is so obviously pushing either a far right or a far left agenda that I can't even imagine being someone on either end of that spectrum and seeing something and believing it at all. Even if what they were reporting was true, the spin put on things is so heavy-handed that it's just turning people away left and right. It just depends on which side you're on when you read something. But
Yeah. Well, anything that reflects a higher level of skepticism, I think I'm all for that. 'Cause, I mean, that's the fundamental. I mean, that's the fundamental nature of the scientific method. Like, you know, all of Western civilization, in my opinion, has been built on this notion of skepticism. You can't just believe shit for no good reason. And somebody in a fancy suit on a TV camera telling it to you does not an argument make.
yeah,
You know, and to whatever degree people aren't believing what they're told, that, you know, if they're not believing, you know, what they're told what to think, then maybe they'll actually use their brain and start, you know, using it, you know, as far as how to think.
yeah.
I said that terribly, but
I think we can follow.
but yeah, and that's the biggest problem. You know, I mean, especially like in public schools, it's all about teaching kids what to think, not how to think.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems
Yeah,
we have these days is people don't even know how to think critically. You know, you see people all the time posting shit on Facebook from sources that are completely ridiculous, and like people
Yeah.
post this stuff as if it's true. Like, for example, like what are these things like going around?
Oh,
They're
about
talking-
the shooter guy.
Well, no, I was
Oh.
thinking the thing people are going around like making posts about, like, I on this date no
Oh,
longer
yeah.
authorize Facebook to blah blah blah. Like, I don't know anything about it. It sounds like complete horseshit to
It
me.
is complete horseshit.
But
yeah.
people are just posting this like, you know, this isn't real, right?
Yeah.
And clearly they saw it and so they're like, oh, well, this must be true. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
you didn't think about like the source, like you didn't
Yeah.
think to check like, this seems weird.
When that
Maybe I
shit
should
goes
think
around, it
about
makes
why
me
this
just want
would
to start
be.
blocking friends. Like it's I like when things like that go around because they show me who the assholes are that I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. But and it just goes to show that
I have
people
like
aren't thinking
178
critically.
friends, and only 30 of them actually appear in my feed anymore. But yeah, I mean, sorry guys, but when you
good for
signed up
blood
for
pressure.
Facebook, you clicked agree to a contract, and that contract said that the things you load on there aren't yours anymore. So, yeah, you're fucking dumb. Just, I'm sorry that you fell for it, but you're fucking dumb. You have no grasp whatsoever on how these laws work, and you're making legal statements as if somehow your assertion of something is a binding agreement between you and Facebook now, because they're going to read each one of these individually.
Yeah, and it's just so ridiculous. And you see people that seem otherwise intelligent, you know, like they may be well-educated people, will like fall for this stuff. You're just like, how do you, like, what processes are going through your brain or aren't going through your brain where you just like, you see something and it's just like, oh, that's true. I mean,
You're at like a
Skepticism,
you're like at a
people.
urinal taking a piss with your phone in your right hand, your dick in your other hand. Like, oh, that looks good. Share.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
It's a low standard for evidence that people have these days.
Like it's still amazing to me though too. Like anytime, like you know, the people that you know who are just like they're just diehard Republicans or they're just like diehard Democrats. I mean, to the point where, you know, they're just so fucking cliched, but they're just like all over it. And like I posted this meme last night about Obama bombing the hospital. And, you know, I said something about, you know, he's concerned about gun control, but, you know, selective morality, you know, because then he's going to go and bomb a fucking hospital. And this dude that I know who's like the fucking like liberal fucking poster boy. And he's basically friends of a friend of mine, you know, like people that I know. So, you know, I've been friends with him on Facebook for a few years. But anyways, he comments and he says, you know, I'm making a straw man comment, you know, because Obama bombed the hospital.
How is that a straw man?
Yeah, and essentially, I'm just like, you know, no. It's basically like, you know, I think Obama should be responsible for his actions, just like the Oregon shooter, you know, and both of them alike should be responsible for their actions, and I don't just blame inanimate objects.
Seems pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, I basically said, I told him it's selective morality. Murder's murder. He's like, and his comment is, war is not murder. And then my response was just like,
Peace is strength. Ignorance is freedom.
yeah, shitting is not pooping.
Who told you?
No,
this?
war is strength. I'm sorry, I misspoke. But yeah, no, that's straight out of fucking 1984. I mean,
Yeah.
war
Dude.
is not murder. I'm pretty sure that killing people is a pretty integral part.
So
of
I,
war.
honestly, my response is 100% what I was thinking. I was like, haha, you're brainwashed. Because you're fucking brainwashed. War is not murder. You know, these are civilians. You know,
Matt, don't need
bombing
your
a
pig
hospital.
establishment.
Bombing a hospital isn't an act of war. It's an act of fucking terrorism. And guess what?
Yeah,
we all
that'd be more
paid for it.
That bombing continued for half an hour after the hospital contacted whoever it was they had to. You know, I don't know how the systems are set up out there.
So
but a half an hour after they alerted that they were being attacked, it still lasted for another half an hour after that.
So at least ostensibly the military didn't know that this was a hospital that they were bombing or something?
I guess so. Or
that's great. So now the military's bombing people, they have no idea who they're actually bombing.
Or just really cared a whole lot about who they thought they were bombing, that they just kept going. But, you know, the next day, the fucking hospital was burned to the ground with people in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, after, and I've had, even my own father defended, I'm going to space on the name, but the guy who was, the kid who was killed in a drone strike against, it was like al-Zawahiri or something, was targeted in a drone strike somewhere in the Middle East, and had his son with him in the car. He was like in a vehicle, and they targeted the vehicle with a missile from a drone. And they knew that his 16-year-old son was not suspected of any actual crime or anything. Yeah. And even this guy wasn't al-Zawahiri or whatever. I mean, I'm sure he's a real nasty guy, but he wasn't even actually suspected of actually killing somebody. He was just, a propagandist for Al-Qaeda or whatever. His son was actually a U.S. citizen. Not suspected of any crimes.
I remember this now.
They knew that he was with them, and they said, well, that's acceptable collateral damage. I mean, they don't deny any of it. They know, they admit they knew for a fact ahead of time. They're like, well, too bad for him. He's in the vehicle with al-Zawahiri, so that means he forfeits his life. I mean, that fundamentally... Now, I don't believe that, whether you're a citizen or not doesn't change any of your fundamental rights or anything. I don't buy any of that nonsense. But even for within, your average statist who does believe that makes a difference, they're just like, well, I guess he shouldn't be with al-Zawahiri. It's like, wait, so all of Western philosophy and law going back to the Magna Carta and further just goes completely out the window. Just because of, this guy's a targeted terrorist, so fuck his U.S. citizen son who's not actually suspected of anything. A fucking child. Yeah. They knew what they're doing. I mean, even in this thing, it's far more terrible. I mean, God knows how many people were killed in this. At least there, you can ostensibly say, like, oh, well, they should have, they didn't know, or whatever. Well, of course, the argument there is they should have known. But even if you want to say that it was a mistake, here's where they knew damn well what they were doing, and they had no problem with it. And all the people... general run-of-the-mill Republicans at least, have absolutely no problem with it. It's like, well, wait a second, this is pretty fundamental.
All of these people who are killed in this particular bombing, just for example, all those children, all of the people who worked in the hospital, all have family, and they all have friends, and they all have people who cared about them in that area who now see what the U.S. really is. I mean, that's like the perfect breeding ground for radicalizing these people. These are people now whose friends and family have been killed by a U.S. strike that never should have happened to begin with. If I wanted to work against the U.S., that would be the perfect opportunity to get these people on my side. I mean, we're just fucking radicalizing people against us left and right all over the world, and wondering where the blowback is coming from, completely ignoring the fact that the majority of the problems we're having are due to blowback for our actions.
Well, of course. I mean that's fundamentally what all it is, and that's the worst part about it is, to some extent you're sympathetic to the fact, like, well, I guess if my entire family was blown up in a drone strike, I'd be pretty pissed and probably be, that's a person that has nothing to lose. That's the person you should really be afraid of, as a person that has nothing to lose. When you bomb somebody's entire family, I'm pretty sure they have nothing left to lose. And there's no reason why this has to happen.
And you introduce the idea of martyrdom to someone like that too, and you've given them everything they need at that point.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine a more effective way of radicalizing people. Again, also understand the context of their culture, their society, their religion. Yeah. For right or wrong, it's a reality that these are people that will fucking come after you hard. And eventually it gets to a point where you start to have to wonder, what are their real intentions? Are they really trying to keep us safe when demonstrably everything they do keeps making the very thing they claim to be against worse? It's like the welfare state. Whether or not you have good intentions, the fact that it's clearly making poverty increase is pretty irrefutable, and yet people double down on it. It's just insane. To the point where you have to question, like, what are your real motives? Are you really trying to help these people because we have hard evidence that you're hurting these people? not helping, and then you continue doing it anyway. What does that say about a person?
Yeah.
We live in a fucked up world.
We do. So, Matt, you were talking earlier just about, you were asking me actually how I felt about us having private, what is the word?
Private arbitration.
Private arbitration, yeah.
Arbitration?
Yes, it's when you plant trees.
The court of trees.
The court of trees, yeah.
Yeah, arbitration.
It's, no, private, whatever you just said,
Private
versus courts. I was wondering if you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, just the idea, everybody says, well, how would we do this without government? How would we do this without government? But how would we do law without government? Like, for instance, like a lot of people will volunteer to get things settled in private arbitration just because it's a quick way to get it done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so many, I guess legal terms like torts or whatever, but like so many cases where like people have been wronged with like, maybe in a state court you could take like a small claims court, but it's expensive enough, the whole process. I mean, it costs serious money to the point where a lot of shit just gets swept under the rug. If somebody stiffs you for a couple $100, well, it's going to cost you more than that to take in a small claims court.
Yeah.
So you're just fucked anyway. I mean, there's no efficiency involved or anything. And that's just one thing that springs to mind, that could potentially affect pretty much anybody, throughout their life is, you have a business deal go wrong or something. Do you want it to be like, basically like a $10,000 deductible on your issue, like to just hire a lawyer and to just deal with it in the first place for something that could have easily been handled by, say, private arbitration.
Yeah.
And you see that stuff all over the place, like eBay. eBay, I don't think things ever really go to like, real state courts over that kind of stuff. They have their own private arbitration where they deal with disputes and whatever. And eBay, I think, is like a larger economy than most of the nations in the world. The amount of commerce that goes on there. Seriously, like the statistics I've seen, like it's like one of like the top 10 economies in the world or something insane. Maybe not that big.
Like, but I've always found it like in conversations with like millennials, when we're talking about like economics, like I always like to bring up like, would you want the government to, do you think we need the government to regulate eBay? Do you think we need the government to regulate eBay? And it's funny, these young millennial liberals, they'll say no. I mean, eBay's been awesome ever since it's been around. I mean, for the most part, it's been awesome for me.
It's been relatively untouched the entire time. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a great argument, I think, for how you can do things efficiently privately, and they can be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm never at a loss for being amazed by how many people can just completely remain blind to these things, like these real world examples of how people say all the time, like, who will build the roads, and like all these other ridiculous arguments. Well, I have no idea how these things could possibly operate in a free market, and yet there's actual legitimate real world free market examples of these things working brilliantly, not perfectly, but certainly a lot better than.
Well, I mean, there's going to be no perfect. Humans are fallible. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be people killing people. They were doing it before guns.
So what do we do as far as the private courts would go? Then what would we do about violent crime? Or is that? I mean, I can't imagine privately handling like a triple homicide. I mean, how would you deal with that?
I mean, have you heard of DROs before?
No.
So the idea, I mean, and most of this comes from what I've heard Molyneux talk about, and I've heard other economists whatever talk about this, but sort of the idea is that a lot of it would be handled on an insurance model, which very often uses private arbitration for claims, whatever, for example. But the idea would be, well, it's a combination of that and obviously very strict private property rights, which obviously is very integral to libertarianism, anarcho-capitalism, whatever your flavor. So the idea would be fundamentally, the mechanism is ostracism.
Yeah.
And so the idea with DROs is that basically what it's And I think that's a term that Molyneux coined, but it stands for Dispute Resolution Organization. And so it's sort of a combination insurance company / private arbitration firm. And the idea would be that sort of like you have a credit score, you could have firms that represent you in terms of, your credibility as a person. I'm trying to think like how to most efficiently explain this, because I mean it's a pretty well thought out kind of thing.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
But the idea is that fundamentally, you need to be in good. You need to be represented by a DRO that's going to be insuring you. For example, well, okay, let me back up. The idea fundamentally is that it would be ostracism, that you basically just need to be in good standing within society to continue participating in society.
Right.
If people say you're not playing by the rules. Again, anarchy means no rulers, not no rules.
Right.
So the idea is if you're not playing by the rules, then we'll just trespass you off of our property, out of our community, out of everything, and it's within our rights to do that because it's private property. I can trespass anybody I want off my property. And so, everybody basically agrees that, all right, we're all going to agree to not murder each other, for example. And then anybody that goes out and murders somebody, everybody says, all right, well, you have no place in civilized society. Go live in the woods, do your thing, but don't ever fucking come back or else we'll shoot you on sight, kind of a thing. So the idea is fundamentally the mechanism is ostracism. Sort of like Australia was a penal colony. They're like, all right, go fuck yourselves, go live in Australia, just don't bother us.
I mean, plus, anytime like somebody's like, well, how would we do this without government? It's basically anything the government has had control of. Government's a monopoly, so I mean there really hasn't been much progress in like say the legal system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's basically like, how are we going to do this without government? It's like, I don't know. Why don't you give the free market a try? Because market competition will always do better than a monopoly. You wouldn't argue for a monopoly on anything else, but it's kind of like once we've lived in a society where government has this responsibility for our entire lives, it's hard to imagine how we ever do it without them. But I mean, it's not like they're doing a perfect job. Usually they're doing a fucking horrible job. And it would be pretty hard to not do a better job after busting up that monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that speaks to two things. One, that, lots of times when they ask that question, that is assuming that the government is doing it or is doing a good job of whatever it is. Like, oh, well, who's going to protect us from crime? It's like, well, fucking police don't protect you from...
they kill more people than anybody.
Yeah, the police don't protect you from crime anyway. They just come and fill a report after the fact. So, I mean, again, you're fallaciously assuming that the government's doing it in the first place. And B, that's the other point. That's the whole point of the free market, is that nobody knows. Nobody can point to a single solution that will be the best solution.
There's a large majority of the population out there that's legitimately more afraid of the police than they are of actually the crimes happening.
As well they should be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people.
I mean, fuck, you can't even... There was the... you can't even trust the courts to do right. I mean, I fucking...
You can't even trust the courts.
You can't even trust the courts to do right. I have a very hard time. I'm staunchly anti-death penalty.
Sure.
But specifically because I don't trust the state to do the right thing.
That's the same.
It's not that I'm against someone who's a horrible fucking child molester dying. I'm not against that.
They fucking deserve to die. But I don't trust the government to be the person to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, dude, if somebody murdered like your grandmother, and if you went out and killed them, I would feel like no wrong feelings towards you.
It's things like that that jury nullification exists for. I mean, oh goddamn, fuck! I get so pissed with this shit.
But yeah, I mean, it's like I don't trust the state to carry out that act. And
No.
I sure as fuck don't want the decision to take my life in their hands.
No, definitely not. You can't even fucking get your fucking DMV right, and you wanna have the power over people's lives.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I mean it's a fundamental premise of law since. I don't know Blackstone. I don't fucking know the actual history, but I mean it's been part of common law for a long time in Western civilization that it's better to let 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man be put in prison. That's why you have these really high burdens of proof like reasonable doubt and whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna
assume
that like the worst
still get arrested,
Yeah.
So I mean, you still.
Well, innocent people have been put to death, and it's been basically proven after the fact that if nothing else, at least the burden of reasonable doubt is at least in play. Whether or not they know factually that somebody did or didn't do, but people have been exonerated by DNA evidence. Pretty much the best proof you can get after the fact. you know, I mean, if your whole legal system is supposed to be premised on it's a terrible thing for an innocent man to be put in prison, well, that's obviously billion times worse to be putting that man to death. And as soon as you discover, like, wow, we made a mistake and put an innocent man to death, that ought to be your signal that, maybe we shouldn't be putting people to death.
Totally. You know, so, I mean, yeah, it's basically when people argue against, like, doing things against, like, the fact that, you know, you could do things better without the state, it's like they're not thinking. Like, think about how much chaos we're in right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd say most of it is because of government.
Well, I'll give you like one more example of, you know, people just not thinking it through. You know, talking with my brother, who's, I guess he's just sort of your run-of-the-mill conservative, generally, definitely a statist, but, you know, sympathetic to the libertarian thinking on, like, economics, whatever.
So your brother's a little statist?
Oh, I mean, he's definitely a statist. But one of the,
is he older or younger?
He's older. Oh, here, this is just hilarious. I mean, I don't want to say, you know, where he works, but he works for a software company that makes open source software. They're a huge international, you know, multi-billion-dollar company, and they produce open source software. And we had an argument. He had an argument with me over intellectual property, saying, "Oh, you have to have intellectual property because if people, you know, can't have a patent or copyright or whatever, then there's no way there will ever be any innovation or anything like that."
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's working for a $1 billion
Really?
company. Basically, and he was just telling me about how, like, they have, like, certain programs. Like, fundamentally, what they sell is the support, you know, for that software. So they're selling, like, business class, enterprise class software. And so fundamentally, you know, because they're the ones that are putting it out, they have all the manuals, all the documentation, all the tech support and everything. So for a business that doesn't know anything about computers or software, you know, they're going to outsource that kind of stuff. And that's where they come in. But they also take their same software. They have programs where they basically take, you know, betas and whatever and deliberately release it out into the world and give it away to people for free. And even the stuff they sell, they'll give it, you can download the stuff for free. And that's how they innovate. That's how they develop stuff, is by giving this stuff out open source to people for free, and then they get their feedback, they improve their product, and then they package it and sell it to corporations in a package that they want. And then he's telling me that intellectual property is necessary. He's like, what are you talking about?
Like humanity would just stop moving forward because now there's no motivation now.
Because now all of a sudden nobody cares about anything. You know, nobody has any interest in improving anything. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But one of the examples I brought up to him that it was just funny, the look on his face. Well, if we don't pay for the police, who's going to protect us from, you know, having stuff stolen from us? It's like, well, I'm pretty sure your tax rate is like well into the 30% or something.
Yeah, it's like
every year.
But
so are you really saying that somebody's going to, like, sneak in your backyard and steal 30% worth of your annual income's worth of property every single year from here until the end of time?
Yeah.
And that's what you need, you know, and that's what you need protection for. It's like, I'm pretty sure that somebody stealing your bike out of the garage is nothing compared to, like, the 30% plus in taxes that you're paying every year. And yet that's supposed to be protecting you from having stuff stolen from you. And, you know, and when I brought this up to him, like, you sort of see the light switch go off, and he's like, oh, that's kind of a good point. Like, I'm not having $30,000 worth of my income stolen from me every year by random hoodlums.
Is your brother more conservative or a liberal?
Oh, definitely conservative.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely conservative. You know, not like your typical, you know, your stereotypical flag waving kind of, like, you know, Republicard kind of person, but definitely conservative. You know, he's definitely sympathetic to libertarian views, but he can't let go of the whole statist things. Like, oh, well, you still need to have a state to have all the guns to keep people in check.
Who does he like for president?
I don't know. I haven't asked.
Okay. Call him up real quick.
Yeah. Could you text him?
I mean, I could. I mean, honestly, I mean,
the moment's passed. Don't worry.
It's
just fucking with you, dude.
Yeah, this time of night, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
I'll try to ask him next time I talk to him, though.
Okay.
Do you feel like talking about balls? You know, like balls. About terrible things that can happen to your balls in court. Crazy judges electrocuting people's balls.
This sounds kind of sexy.
They got some sexy shit to drop on you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is all I have for tonight. It's the last thing I have for tonight.
Okay.
It's a judge in Texas right now. I don't know which town or county or whatever it's in. Recently came under some fire for using something kind of like a shock collar, on the plaintiff in a case, except it was attached around his waist, where at any time the bailiff could press a button and deliver 50,000 volts to this guy for 8 seconds. So for 8 seconds, you're just kind of pissing and shitting yourself right there in front of the jury, who's supposed to be fair and impartial.
And it was strapped to his balls?
Strapped to his waist.
Okay, I was thinking like an electrified cock ring kind of thing or something.
It's like a taser with a collar on it, that you have to wear.
Yeah, like a dog shot collar kind of thing.
Kind of, but worse. But way worse.
Yeah.
No, but for real, like, so many things went through my mind when I read this. First off, the man was mentally ill, and he had killed his wife, and I think had tried to kidnap his children. Now, that's terrible, but that's a different argument. He is crazy. He was attempting to defend himself in court, but wasn't behaving himself in court because he's crazy. And he refused to stand when the judge addressed him, so the judge had him fitted with this collar, and they were shocking him in court.
Well, now, I mean, when you say you said he was misbehaving. I mean, what does that mean? Was he being violent, or was he just
No. He was being psychotic, is what he was doing. He was just yelling like stuff. Like if he had an objection about something, he would yell the word "foxtrot" at the judge until the judge finally paid attention to it. Basically, the man had no business defending himself to begin with.
Sure.
But the plain fact of the matter is,
how can they
why was this thing invented even? Like, like who fucking thought this goddamn thing up? That's my first thought. And secondly, I mean, what authority does a judge have to basically torture someone, A, at all, but B, right there in court? I mean, how is that any better or worse than the man calling out of turn?
Well, I mean, what I don't understand, I mean, a lawyer, I'm sure, would be able to explain this a lot better, but I mean, you're supposed to be represented in court by, I mean, the whole thing, I mean, if you can't afford an attorney, we'll provide one. That's supposed to be, a quote-unquote right.
Right.
To have, adequate representation in court. If this guy is clearly that psychotic, how is it that they're allowing him to represent himself?
I have no idea, man.
I mean, I guess maybe, they have to have at least, like, appointed a public defender.
For him to dismiss or something like that.
I guess. But, I mean, how can you say, I mean, there's a legal standard for, like, they're not culpable for their crime because they're legally insane or whatever. Which, I guess that makes sense to me, on some level.
One way or another.
But how can you have that standard and not apply it to them defending themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing sounds just bizarre. And that is a good question. I mean, where on earth did this thing come from?
Yeah.
I mean, very often the state appropriates things from the free market, so it's possible. I mean, Bergman, maybe you can do some research on this, see if there's, like, kinky porn sites.
There probably
where this is a thing. I mean, there has to be, like,
now that I think about it, that's where I got mine
like
from. Except mine was the butt plug version.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, great, and don't give them ideas.
That's not just Texas, though. That happened I wrote it down, in 2012, right here in Maryland. In Charles County, except they didn't fit it around his waist, they fit it around his thigh. But still, same thing. I mean, it's something I've never even fucking heard of. I can't even imagine being in a courtroom with something like that going on. In the Charles County case, though, the guy actually, right there in court, in front of the jury, like, screamed, crumpled to the floor, and then pissed himself. I mean, how can you possibly have a fair jury trial when this is how the jury sees you, like on the floor? And this guy wasn't even acting up. He was, what was he doing? He was attempting to explain what he thought a precedent was to the judge, and the judge told him to shut up, and he didn't. So then the bailiff shocked him. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, the guy wasn't even acting up. He was just trying to defend himself in court, and.
Well, and I guess this is what I don't understand is, I mean, if this person, to me, the only way you could justify that is if this guy was, acting up violently or something. Like, if he's, like, bum rushing the witness stand.
That's what handcuffs were invented for, though. Like,
Well, yeah, but, I mean, I have to wonder, like, if this is the kind of thing that's necessary, then what the hell is this person doing in a courtroom, like, at all?
Exactly.
Like, why? I mean, they have, like, televised courtrooms and stuff, like, I know for, like, preliminary hearings and stuff. Like, maybe just, like, keep him in his prison cell and let him do it from there. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but I just can't imagine, like...
imagine any case where fucking strapping a shock collar on a person is the solution to anything.
And I mean, and what did they do before they had these shock collars? I mean, I don't recall there being, like, a huge rash of problems of people going on psychotic killing sprees in courtrooms or something. Like, clearly there's only so much this guy can do. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of convenience so the bailiff doesn't have to get up out of his seat or something. I mean, I don't know.
Can you
That's
imagine
just
having that
insane.
job, even just being the fucking bailiff, and you've got now someone telling you to push the button, like,
We've heard of what is it? Is it the Milgram experiment?
oh yeah,
The famous one about shocking people
Yeah.
and being commanded by authority. I mean, it's scary shit. And here you go. Here's
you
your
go.
real life example. If you didn't believe the study was done all those decades ago, here's your real world example.
Yep.
Cool.
That's just crazy.
Cool.
All right, so I guess that's it for this week, guys. Until next time. live
Thanks for
free.
having me.
Oh, thank you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Ethan. Big Eve.
My stage name.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Later.
And I know I'm a slave. We can make the break the power, break the power. Statism's blood break is the blood that is shed, drenching the flags of the tax bombs in red. Poisons by a few at the expense of the many. Soldiers and cards in a death machine. You can't justify killing by economic gain. For God, country, and democracy, you can put freedom at gunpoint in a foreign land. You support the troops, then bring them home. I believe that you will do the best for you. And I believe that we have the power, have the power. I hate the state, and I know I'm a slave. We can make the break the power, break the power. Society owes individuals nothing more than non-interference with natural rights. Once a virtuous person fully comprehends the non-aggression principle, the violence of the state becomes obsolete.